Greetings and welcome to the 4th of July. Today it is Tuesday, and be lots of cookouts and trips to the beach and fireworks throughout the day, although in some places not with the dry conditions. But none of that reflects on the freedom that we have in Jesus Christ. Those holidays are just an opportunity to party anymore, it seems like, as opposed to a serious consideration of what they mean. And certainly we celebrate our freedom today, but we give God the credit for our position in that. The freedom that America offers sometimes doesn't offer. And it's not, no nation is perfect. Today we're in the Judean wilderness, the Gedi Nature Reserve. Just the title makes me want to pack my bags and go. 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 1 through 22 are the verses cited for today. They quote verse 17. "You are more righteous than I," he said. "You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly." En Gedi is a welcome oasis in the dry and forbidding world of the Judean wilderness. This unique place is the setting for a Bible story that shows how a season in the wilderness can produce a powerful faith witness. The meteoric rise in David's popularity following his victory over Goliath fueled a powerful jealousy in King Saul. The sitting king attempted to take the life of the future king on 7 different occasions. With only a step between him and death, 1 Samuel 20, verse 3, David fled into the wilderness, a place familiar to him from his days as a Bethlehem shepherd. It was short on resources, but long on hiding places. Here, David repeatedly outmaneuvered his pursuers. That is, until the moment he came to En Gedi. Saul obtained intel that David and his men were in the spring getting water. This allowed Saul to catch David by surprise. Rather than fleeing down one of the dry wilderness canyons that they had done so often, David and his men dived into a cave. They were out of sight, but now they were trapped, outnumbered 5-1, hoping against hope they would go undetected. The situation sets up David's powerful faith witness. Saul needed to relieve himself and entered the very cave in which David and his men were hiding. He was isolated, distracted, and vulnerable. But rather than taking Saul's life, David neatly sliced off a corner of the robe Saul had set aside. He was unwilling to kill the Lord's anointed, even though Saul's death was the path that led out of the wilderness and on to the throne of Israel. Then David did something even more spiritually courageous. After Saul exited, David stepped to the mouth of the cave and chided Saul for his lack of character while waving the severed portion of Saul's robe above his head. Unthinkably, David had given away his hiding place. We shudder to think what will happen next. Tune in next week. It's the way we do it on television, right? But Saul's response isn't the one we expect. Instead of sending his soldiers to seize David and the others who were with him in the cave, Saul acknowledged David's superior character and conceded David's right to assume Israel's throne. Saul's heart yielded before David's powerful faith witness. During a wilderness season, we are prone to focus on how it impacts us. This En Gedi story challenges us to think of how such a season can impact others. As difficulties increase our faith, they enhance our testimony. Others will be watching. The Lord may use our faith witness, matured through a season in the wilderness, to transform the hearts of those whom we least expect to change. Those of you who were at JCPM yesterday heard a testimony almost exactly like this from one of our missionaries. It was Mission Emphasis Sunday yesterday. And one of our missionaries, who's going through a very difficult time in the country where he is, his residency paperwork has been challenged. He doesn't know what the future holds. He's not able to leave the country because it could keep him from getting back in. Meanwhile, his wife and children, their paperwork is not being challenged, but they had to leave for a period of time to renew their paperwork. It's one of the things countries do. But in the middle of this difficulty, he has had evidence of the Lord's moving and working. People have come to Christ. One person whose spouse has come to Christ but is resisting that for himself sees the life of this missionary and offered and told him, you're good people. Tell me who the judge is, and I will go and vouch for you and let him know what good people you are. The stories, he had more stories that he could have shared with us, but he shared those. And this devotion today is spot on with what he's experiencing. That in the midst of the difficulties, in the midst of enemies, how we respond is a powerful, powerful testimony. I fear we don't do that. I fear instead we lash back out. We question others' motives. We call them names. That's the way we're operating here in America today. And unfortunately, many who call themselves Christians are operating that way also. If our lives could reflect this kind of situation that our missionary is going through, that David is going through, we would have said he had every right to do Saul in. Saul's trying to kill him repeatedly, but it's not how God's people do it. Or as we might say, it's not how we roll. What a great example for us. Both David and from our missionary we interviewed. Question number 1, and that brings all of this to these questions. How were you prone to respond when the Lord allows your life to sink into a season of wilderness? How do you respond to the tough times? Do you blame God? Do you think God should not allow those kinds of things? The evidence is that God uses those kinds of things in our lives. Not just for our good, maybe even not for our good, but for the good of others around us, for his name's sake as well. Question number 2, when have you been impressed, even changed, by the faith witness of someone in a wilderness season? When Sue and I talked to this worker overseas and told the stories to us, he got choked up, we got choked up. Very much impressed by how he's responding, how his family's responding, and how people who are seeing that response, how they're responding. Here's the prayer. Lord, I confess I have responded badly when I've gone through wilderness seasons. Forgive me for my bitterness, anger, and despair. Please use such times to grow my trust in you and to deliver a powerful witness to others. Blessings to you today on this 4th of July, and make sure that you're using your freedom in a way that brings honor and glory to God. Blessings.